I've been logging into Adopt Me for over 2 years. I'll one day get my 1000th day streak, a milestone I doubt anyone reached, but after what I went through, I don't think I'd play Adopt Me anytime soon. On the day where I should have gotten my 1000th day streak, I knew something was off as the game loaded. Instead of having the familiar and cheery intro screen, I was already in the game. It just popped up. The usual iconic music was replaced by a stinging silence. I once prided as a very rich player, but I now had no bucks and only one reborn-age neon dog named Alex, and a sunshine-age neon cat named Lily. It had been a long time ago since I played Adopt Me for the first time, but I couldn't bring up any time where I had a neon dog which I named Alex, nor a neon cat named Lily. I didn't even think that was possible, because I never recalled creating a new account, and even if I did, only either a dog or a cat would hatch from the starter egg, and it definitely wouldn't have a neon cat/dog of any age. I began getting worried. Had I been hacked? Had I loaded into the wrong server? I realized I had been playing alone? Or was some other technical issue? But if it was a technical issue, how could I just get 2 neon pets for free? I looked further into my pets, and found something that was definitely not right. Why did the pets have health bars, along with the stamina, energy, hunger, and thirst bar? Was this a survival game? Adopt Me hadn't ever been a survival game, it was always an RP and pet raising game. Not even my avatar was the same. It was reduced to the standard Roblox noob, when I really had a lot of Robux. Had I logged into a doppelganger account? I looked into my toys section, and all I had were a flashlight and toy sword. Had someone hacked this into a survival game? If so, what kind? But I wasn't gonna sit around to find out. I called the Roblox support number, but the voicemail was just dead silence even as I turned up to full volume, almost as if it was off duty. When I looked back in my game screen, I found a note on the ground. I picked it up by pressing E, and it read, "I know you. I know you're wondering why this game seems so out of place, and you tried to call Roblox support. A virus has just started spreading in the nursery and much of Adoption Island has been destroyed by its hosts. The infection doesn't spread by air, but if they touch you, well, you know. Wait, someone's dash." I immediately put the note down and ran my avatar back home, not thinking of looking back. But then a dialog box opened. "Lily, wait. I can't keep up." I wanted to slow down, but I was afraid of what was behind me. I realized my avatar was almost out of stamina, so I cut behind a tree to recharge. I realized Lily's health bar was completely red, and I dreaded to think on what would happen if either pets or my HP reached 0. I tried carrying them both, but that left me defenseless. As I listened closely, I didn't hear anything, so it might be safe again. But I couldn't relax as a message popped up that said, "Don't make a noise," with an audio recording waveform that had a bar limit. I held my breath and remained as quiet as possible, not as quiet as the game's ambience. After quietly breathing in and out of what felt like forever, the warning message finally faded. I picked up the two pets, and snuck quietly back into my home. When I got home, though, I realized there had been a crate in there. Do I open the crate? I asked myself. What if it's infected? I drew my toy sword and pressed E to open it. What I found inside washed most of my worries away. Inside there was a flame sword, with the typical blade replaced by a 2D fire icon. I didn't know what this new weapon would do, but I wasn't gonna keep my blunt toy sword around. Suddenly, a speech bubble popped up on what seemed to be behind me. Anna, you've upgraded your weapon. I dragged my camera around, and there was Anna, the young girl typically from the nursery with blonde hair and a pink onesie with a rabbit tail. What's going on? I typed in the chat. I didn't expect her to respond, as she's just an NPC. But merely 3 seconds later, she replied, I don't know. She responded. But I think the source is in the nursery. Another chat bubble popped up from behind. Alex, but what if we die, even if we destroyed the beacon? We have no choice, I typed back. It's either us, or them. But maybe, if we just work together, we could make it out alive. As we stepped out with my volume as high as possible to sense any infected, suddenly, as we were about to enter the nursery, the ground below us suddenly gave away, and it was dark, too dark, so dark I worried that if I were to turn on my flashlight, I would get jump scared. I equipped my flashlight and covered my eyes and slowly pressed the left mouse button, preparing for the worst. But nothing happened. The cave was lit up slightly, and after a few tense seconds, no monster came. But another thing made me flinch. The torches around suddenly burst alight, nearly making me spill water all over my keyboard. I could vividly hear my avatar's footsteps as I inconsistently tapped the W key to try not to make too much noise. After tapping the W key on what felt like forever, we came across a very questionable door. As I selected the flame sword, I realized it had a series of abilities. I used 1/, which had the least required energy, but it easily sliced the hinges off and the door fell. But we were met with a horrible sight. I expected the source to be some like reactor core, but I nearly puked over my computer screen. It was a number of masses of unknown fluid tied together by what appear to be veins. But one mass in the center seemed to be distinctive from the rest, almost as if it had an eye in it. But I realized that all too late as the central mass began to crack, as if it were an egg. As I drew my flame sword open, a huge tentacle burst open from the center mass. I nearly froze. As I panned my camera back facing the door was shut. I tried pressing E, opening the door and running, but a dialog box popped up. Anna, we can't leave yet. Otherwise, the virus would spread out of control. I reluctantly panned my camera back to the single tentacle, and shakily pressed the 1 key, equipping my flame sword again. But I noticed all too late that that single imposing tentacle was a mere decoy, as 8 other tentacles popped open from the other masses. I quickly popped open my flame sword move lists, and I scrolled left to right at what felt like the speed of light, desperately trying to find a good attack. I figured that fire cage would trap the thing and slow it down as I tried to find a new attack. As I thought, the tentacles were immobile and couldn't move. As I scrolled left to right amid the flame sword's attacks, one of them caught my eye, Infernatius Executionis. It sounded rather powerful, but just as I hovered my mouse over the button, I quickly saw a message. Do not use unless last resort. This will unpower your sword. But I figured I wouldn't need it, as the cage seemed to be burning the thing itself. Without hesitating, I began clicking my left mouse button as fast as I could. I began thinking my finger would create a trance because of how fast I was clicking. Then, as the multiple slashes piled up, I was faced with the timed perfect press circle and ring. I pressed almost perfectly, and the slashes blew the being into nothing. There was no time to celebrate, though. Almost immediately, a hole appeared in place of the being. The place around began crumbling, and a wall of very toxic materials of what seemed to contain the virus began tracing the hind wall. I pressed E as fast as I could to try to push open the heavy door. But it didn't work, and I clicked the left mouse button. That triggered a slice which bust the door down into 2 molten pieces. As we ran out of the main chamber, we saw more infected monsters that began charging at us, immediately followed by a jump scare. But I was so focused on killing the monsters I merely blinked. I swiped my camera down and slashed, jumping into the air with an incendiary jump. Then, an idea immediately sparked into my mind. I scrolled my camera backwards and looking down about 45 degrees. As I swiped the sword repeatedly about 2 times per second, the monsters began falling like bowling pins. But all that stopped when I hit a wall on the other side. At this point my flame sword was completely drained of energy and was basically a toy sword now. But my avatar automatically dropped it, and I really couldn't fight off all of them with a mere toy sword. I swiped my camera around in all directions, trying to look for some way to get out. I even spammed the left mouse button to try and see if I could escape. But it all stopped as I heard repeated gunshots behind me, and I quickly swiped my camera. It was Anna, and she seemed to now be around in her teens, with an assault rifle in her hands. Before I could type anything in chat, she spoke up in a voice bubble, "Anna, don't worry. I've been in Arsenal before." Another voice bubble popped up. "Alex, but we still have to get out. I can smell the virus from here. If we don't get out, we'll all get infected." My camera view began developing a red, blurry vignette. I feared what would happen if my camera became completely opaque. I thought I heard the ceiling crack as I slashed it, so I panned up as hard as I could, and began clicking faster than I ever had. I thought my mouse was gonna shatter, but all that faded away as the ceiling opened and the camera refreshed. Back out of the ground patched back up, almost as if nothing was there. The sky had been clear again, and one last message appeared. Congratulations! You've saved Adoption Island from certain extinction, thanks to your party's hard work and determination. This would be an experience I would never forget or unsee. As I finish this post, I want to remind you that after what I've been through, I'll likely never see Adopt Me the same way ever again. After all, who knows if the virus is really dead? Is it still buried underground? All I can hope is that another disaster doesn't happen which triggers the virus to be released again, and I really hope this cruel hacker doesn't spread the virus to other games.